everyone, welcome to the Teacher's Time Off with Adora. Hello everyone, welcome to another Teacher's Time Off with Adora. My name is AdoraI Igunma and I am your host for today and always, hopefully. Welcome to the Teacher's Time Off with Adora. If this is your first time here, I want to say welcome. I love you. Thank you for being here. Now, if you haven't subscribed, ensure you do that right now. So click the subscribe button and ensure that you click on the all bell button so that you know when I go live or when I post new videos. So ensure you do that right now. But welcome. I'm blowing confettis for you. Welcome on board. Now, if you are a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. I really appreciate you. Thank you for coming. Ensure you always share the video. Ensure that you always come back, drop your comments. I see some of your comments, that keep me going. Thank you so much for encouraging me to keep doing these videos and to ensure that teachers have access to great resources. Today we're going to be talking about something really nice, and I'm going to be quick about it, but ensure that you take your tips, ensure that you take your learnings and then you apply them in your classroom. I am going to be teaching you 5 ways that you can drive authenticity in your classroom. Now, I've talked about teaching as you before. I've spoken on teaching as you here, and it's also a full-on course that I take in the Skill Teacher Academy. So if you want to know more about that, just head back, go some videos back to teaching as you to ensure that you watch the video on how you can be authentic as a teacher. And now I want to teach you how you can drive authenticity amongst your students in your classroom and how to also help your students become authentic in the classroom. Now, the reason why I want us to talk about ways we can drive authenticity in our classroom is because I want you to be able to help your students relate with what you teach them, relate with the content that they are being taught every single day. So all I'm going to be telling you are practices as well. So these are daily practices that you can engage in your classroom to ensure that your students are able to relate with your content, and then your students are able to take what you teach them in the classroom beyond the classroom. So you want to be able to teach your students stuff in the classroom, and then they are able to take it out of your classroom to use in their own lives and help so that they can also see results as well, which is something that I hope that you hope for in the lives of your students. So let's dive in. So number 1, inclusion. I want you to always think inclusion when you want to drive authenticity in your classroom. You don't want any barriers or anyone or any of your students left behind when you are teaching. You want every child or every student to experience a sense of belonging and purpose in your classroom. You want them to be able to find their place in your classroom. So you have to create that environment and space where your students feel included regardless of their age, their gender, their economic status, their learning levels or learning achievements. You should be able to ensure that every student participates in everything that you're doing in your classroom. Now, that's how you build authenticity. That's how you can help students move beyond the classroom. Take what you've taught them in the classroom to apply in their personal lives, because if they don't feel like they have a place in the classroom, then what you're teaching can't get to them, and then there's no way they're going to be able to use it outside the classroom. So you want to ensure that there is inclusion in your classroom. Your classroom is very diverse, even though maybe you might be from the same country. For example, in Nigeria, you have everyone maybe coming from the same country or many people from a particular tribe, but it doesn't mean that all your students are the same. So you want to ensure that every need is met. That's how universal design learning thinks, or a teacher that uses or employs universal design learning. You want to ensure that none of your students are left out in your classroom. You want to shatter all barriers. Now let's move on. Now, number 2, to drive authenticity in your classroom, I want you to begin to think culturally relevant lessons, ensuring that you have culturally relevant lessons. Now, when I say culture, it's not limited to ethnicity, right? You want to begin to look at the background, the socioeconomic status, the country or state where the children are from, what they are used to. You want to begin to bring those things into the classroom so that it makes more sense to them. You also want to broaden the perspectives of students, where it's not just limited to what they are used to, but also bring in the cultures of other students as well. For example, in some homes, some children don't eat certain kinds of foods, and then if you begin to use those kinds of foods to teach, they can't relate. So you want to begin to ensure that your lessons are very relatable, in the sense that it takes from what the students know to teach them. For another example, in Nigeria, some children enter public transportation. Their families don't have family cars. And so when you begin to teach them, you saying, oh, if your family has a car, they can't relate because that's not what they're used to. Or a child that has just one parent, if you begin to say this is how a family should look, a mother, a father, brothers and sisters, and they just have a mom, they don't have brothers, they don't have sisters, they cannot relate because it's not their culture, it's not what they are used to. Okay, so you want to begin to teach culturally relevant lessons that your students can relate to, and also to help them broaden their perspectives when you begin to bring the cultures of other students into the classroom. And this will help your students know that, oh, so I have a place here, back to inclusion. Oh, so it doesn't really have to be mother, father, and 5 children in the house. It can just be myself and my mom sometimes, right? So you want to bring the different cultures of students, and also cultures of other people that they are not used to as well. So they know that there are cultures outside of their culture that exist, right? So you're teaching students that when you go to a certain place, there are certain ways that you can't speak. There are certain slangs or words that you can't use because it means something else in another culture. So you want to begin to broaden the perspectives of your students in the class. And that's how you can drive authenticity in your classroom, when everyone is like, oh, okay, so this exists and does exist in my family. And then they're like, okay, so I want to speak more, I want to be myself. So they begin to be themselves more, and they know that what I'm doing is not wrong. I don't feel out of place. I mean, get the drift. Number 3, you want to use real life scenarios or situations in your classroom for relatability's sake. In the whole course of driving authenticity, one of your goals is to ensure that your students can use what you have taught them beyond the classroom. They can also use it in their lives. So you want to use real life scenarios or examples to teach them. You don't want them to feel like what you are teaching has no place outside of the classroom. So you always want to use real life scenarios and situations of what they know or what they see every day, which is also back to ensuring that you have a culturally relevant lesson for your students. So you also want to ensure that your students can relate, right, by using real life scenarios or situations. Number 4, encourage student autonomy, where students are given the opportunity to make decisions for themselves in the classroom, where they do not need so much support, little to no support in the classroom, where they can make decisions for maybe their assessment or group work or the kind of project they want to do, just to back to inclusion, so that they know they have a place in your classroom, and so that they know that you trust them enough to make wise choices in the classroom or regarding their schoolwork, right, or regarding their academics, or regarding any assignment that you've given them. So encourage student autonomy. Sometimes leave them to choose the kinds or the ways they should submit an essay. That's what universal design learning does, actually. So you want to say, give an essay on something, right, give a topic, but you have the opportunity to write or to make a video or to make music or drama or a painting. just to give them the opportunity to be themselves, right? That's what it does when you encourage student autonomy. So you give them the opportunity to be themselves in that process, and you encourage trust in your classroom as well. And number 5, encourage reflection. Ensure that your students have the opportunity to reflect on their practices, to reflect on all they have done, to see if what they are doing is making sense to them, if what they are doing has or can be applied outside the classroom. Give them the opportunity to reflect, to see, okay, what have I learned today? Also, what can I do differently? How can I take this from the classroom into my own personal life? Give them time to reflect. Give them time to apply what they have learned, for them to be able to see results from what you've taught them. So ensure you encourage reflection. It could be every day before your class, or maybe 2 or 3 times a week, to ensure that you're not just moving, you're not just teaching. They have the time to slow down, think, create better processes or plans before going into the next class again. Are we clear? Okay, that brings me to the end of today's video on 5 ways you can drive authenticity in your classroom. You want to ensure, number 1, you include all students. There's inclusion. Number 2, you want to ensure that you use culturally relevant lessons. Number 3, you want to use real life situations or scenarios. Number 4, you want to encourage student autonomy. And number 5, you want to encourage reflection. I hope I have been able to help you today, and I hope that you take these tips or these ways into your classroom, and so that your students can also learn how to be authentic in the classroom. It pays to be authentic. It pays to be your real self, your true self, without being under pressure or the feeling of judgment, where you feel like, oh, I don't fit in, so I have to try to fit in by being someone else. Your students don't have to do that, right? You want to teach them from now before they leave your space. Okay, now if you enjoyed today's video, give me a thumbs up. Ensure you do that thumbs up. Leave a comment on what you have learned, and also do not forget to share with other teachers. It pays to share. Ensure you share, and also don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. Do that right now. Tell your friends to subscribe, tell other teachers to subscribe. And if you're yet to register for this, I almost said the School Teacher Academy. If you're yet to register for the Fresh Look Africa Summit 2023, registration is on. Ensure that you do that. We are here with a Summit Year 3, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to blow your mind. So ensure you do that right now. All right. I will see you next week, Tuesday, and I remain Adora Igunma. Stay blessed.